Okay, hello everyone. So in the last video, we finished recreating the ChatGPT landing page, right? And in this video, I wanted to take a moment to step back and celebrate. So if we kind of start from the beginning here, we recreated the login sign up screen. We recreated this welcome back sign in screen. We also recreated this sign in with Google screen. And last but not least, we created the ChatGPT landing page, right? Obviously, there's much more we could have done here. We could have designed what a conversation looked like here in Figma. But in this video, I kind of wanted to take a step back and reflect sort of on the exercise as a whole using these 6 primary questions. Number 1, was this a useful exercise? Number 2, is UI design always going to be time consuming and tedious? Number 4, does it get easier? Does it get faster? Number 5, was this a realistic exercise? And number 6, what's your final piece of advice on mastering Figma? All right, so let's dive in. So my first reflection question is, was this a useful exercise? And overwhelmingly, I would say yes. Yes, this is a useful exercise for a number of reasons. The first is really to study the latest design trends. If you are a product designer and you're aspiring to design software product UI, I would highly recommend you to avoid using Dribble.com. Dribble.com can be a good source of inspiration, but I wouldn't use it always to look for sort of like end-to-end product ideas, it's not my go-to. What I would recommend is something called mobbin.com, which if you go to Mobbin, you'll notice that it's essentially a library of screenshots for the highest caliber product UI, and you can even kind of filter things by categories. So for example, I work in fintech, so you can come here, you can look at how the company Wise built out their software. You can analyze their sort of onboarding screen and dissect the world's latest and greatest trends when it comes to like onboarding patterns, as an example. Another sort of similar website would be something called nicelydone.club. So another similar website I encourage you to check out, nicelydone.club. The nice thing about this particular website is you can even search for components. So, okay, I want to see what a button looks like. Okay, here's like a button for Figma. Here's a button for a company called Campsite, Resend, Super, and just to give you sort of like an idea, basically. So I would highly encourage you to use these 2 websites, Mobbin and Nicely Done, as a source of inspiration. If you're looking for a website, specifically website information, there's a website called Awards. That's awards with 3 W's that will publish literally award-winning websites that you can kind of go and upvote and kind of see the latest and greatest when it comes to like slick animations, and so on and so forth. So awards is what I would recommend for like marketing websites. All right. The second sort of primary reason why I find this is a useful exercise is primarily being able to study the web, right? A lot of us may aspire to be mobile app product designers, but the reality is the browser itself is so powerful, be it Safari or Chrome, and oftentimes users don't want to install another mobile app. And so instead, what you'll have to become an expert in is responsive web apps. So that's essentially an app that loads inside of a browser on your phone, right? A great example of this is that I love is Duolingo. So here's my Duolingo account. And if I show you kind of just the responsive nature of this website, if I basically drag my window to a certain width, it will start to collapse and different UI elements will start to be hidden like this until you have a completely mobile specific view, right? You'll notice the navigation that was sort of on the left side panel here pop down to the bottom into a like bottom navigation, which is more sort of mobile, native to the mobile experience, right? So that's like a world-class example, in my opinion, of a responsive web app. And again, I didn't have to install Duolingo as an app on my phone. I could just go to this website on my phone. The final reason why I think this is a useful exercise is that today, basically having the ability to inspect, so use Chrome or Safari to basically take a look at HTML elements, understand spacing, understand color, understand fonts that are being used is pretty much a prerequisite for any UI UX design position, even associate or entry-level product design positions, because you are working with code as the ultimate sort of material that you're shaping. It is so important that you're able to be confident in navigating your Chrome inspect elements in order to kind of understand exactly and precisely the values that are being applied for different HTML elements. All right, so that's my answer to was this a useful exercise. The next question I want to answer is, hey Carl, is UI design time consuming and tedious? Yes, it absolutely is, at least in 2023. So my suggestion is you should only approach UI design when you have high conviction and confidence in your problem and your solution approach, right? And you've already kind of completed higher level thinking, specifically user stories, user scenarios, flow diagrams, sitemaps, and other low fidelity work prior to hopping into Figma and doing high fidelity work, right? It's just often a lot faster to work with a paper and pencil or pen and paper, or even other tools like, for example, FigJam, which is Figma. It's just the whiteboarding tool inside Figma to help you do low fidelity work or flow diagrams before you hop into Figma. There's also another tool I love called Whimsical, which is great for wireframing and kind of using their pre-built wireframing kit to quickly get started on a potential concept. So to answer the question, yes, it is time consuming, it is tedious. You can choose to do it once you're at a point where, hey, I really need some high fidelity mockups so that I can run a concept test, right? And what is a concept test? It's where you need very specific user feedback on a high fidelity, and you're trying to really narrow down and define the actual scope of a project. You need to understand specifically, what data you want to show, etc. All right. And a quick note here on the future, right? With AI and automation, the work that you do in Figma will change. It will get much faster. And because of that, it will be even more valuable to have good taste, to have a personal sense of aesthetic, and to have appreciation for good craft. So again, going to these websites like Mobbin or Nicely Done will be that starting point. And last but not least, will it still be valuable to learn how to make custom changes? Absolutely, yes. And not only doing it manually, but being able to do it efficiently here in Figma, absolutely. Because the AI might help us get there, 70, 80, 90%, but we'll still need to be able to know how to work in Figma to make those changes. All right. So a related question to that question, hey, will it get faster? Will it get easier? The answer is absolutely yes. Once you feel more confident in Figma, you'll be able to manipulate pixels almost at the speed of thought, but it does require an initial investment of time and practice. I have something like probably 10,000 hours because I've been working in this field now for over 5 years and working every day. And this practice really can't be outsourced or skipped. So my encouragement to you is try and enjoy it, try and enjoy the process. You will develop muscle memory over time. It will feel rewarding after you develop that muscle memory. It'll feel like you're playing a video game. You won't need to think so much. The other thing you'll notice too is that you'll be typing a lot more than pushing pixels or dragging. You won't be like clicking and dragging so much than before. You'll actually be using sort of like hotkeys or tabbing, so on and so forth. And yeah, last but not least, you'll feel like sort of like a master sushi chef. You'll know exactly how to work with all your ingredients, your tools, and you'll be able to enter flow state a little bit better. Okay. Number 5, was this a realistic exercise? The answer to this question, very similar to was this a useful exercise? The answer is yes and no. Yes, because screens in Figma can get outdated very quickly. So for example, you might join a design team, another designer might leave, and you might have to inherit their work. Or screens in the actual production application that you're working on get outdated, and you might need to redesign it, but you need to start with redesigning the current state. And so as a result, you still need to sort of recreate high fidelity, high quality UI screen, right? Sometimes it's not realistic because it's just not the top priority. And also there are tools. So for example, this HTML to design Figma plugin where you can convert any website into a fully editable Figma design. So if you have a public website, you can download a Chrome extension. Essentially, you would like punch in the URL for that website and it would output the design in Figma. So highly encourage you to check that out, see if that can help speed up your workflow. And the last thing I wanted to touch on in this section here is design systems. So I could totally spend several videos going into design systems, talking about design systems, but the long and short of it is a design system is a set of processes but also assets. So for example, if I go to this website called Untitled UI, basically there are other designers that all they do is they kind of create these templates, these free templates when it comes to Figma, and they'll create a ton of components in advance for you to use, and so that you don't have to start from scratch, absolute scratch. If I search for Untitled UI, this is one of the more popular ones that I would recommend. And basically, it contains a whole bunch of colors and textiles and buttons kind of predefined upfront and ready for you to work with, right? So check out Untitled UI. I will add the link in the video description below. But yeah, it'll have basically a ton of stuff kind of predefined for you. So like here's colors, here's typography, sizing, and headers, and so on and so forth. And even tons and tons of buttons, more buttons than you could ever imagine. So that's an example of a design system and a component library, right? And when you join a company, there should be a more robust design system that someone's job is to help maintain that design system. Definitely become friends with that person, ask how you can help. That will help you move much, much more faster. Okay. The last piece of advice I would have, is practice good habits. Practice makes permanent. Whatever you practice will stick sooner. If you practice bad habits, those are going to stick. If you practice good habits now, those will stick sooner as well. So for example, I highly encourage you, learn and apply those keyboard shortcuts now. I also encourage you to try to keep everything organized, because you're often not only working in Figma, you're often going to have to present in Figma. So if you name your layers now, it'll be easier for you to organize your files and find what you're looking for. And then the last point I would say is don't stop learning. Actively seek out plugins, leverage other people's assets to improve or speed up your workflow. And last but not least, try and enjoy the process, right? Design is never done. Don't give up. Try and enjoy this learning process of learning this tool. If you can enjoy the process, it'll make the time go that much faster. All right, well, that was my reflection video. I hope you enjoyed this entire video series. If you had watched this entire video series with me to the end, thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope you got as much value out of this video as I did in creating it. And again, if you're finding this video series helpful, please consider buying me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Carl Lee. It will really encourage me to keep making these videos. So thanks so much, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.